If your ad dollars aren't driving the right clients, it's not your budget, it's your strategy. Learn how to prioritize high intent keywords that are going to drive the right type of clients and stay within budget. Welcome back to the Sterling Family Law Show, the podcast designed to help family lawyers build the firm of their dreams. Today, we are taking a deep dive into paid advertising. We have our head of paid advertising, James Patterson, with us, along with the co-founder of our law firm, Sterling Lawyers, and the president of our agency, Rocket Clicks, Tony Carls. We are here to break down what the ideal campaign budget should look like, where to spend those dollars, how much to allocate towards different types of campaigns. This is a deep dive into the weeds as it relates to how family law firms can thrive in their paid search campaigns. All right, gentlemen, we are back and we're going into the weeds on paid advertising spending and budgets for family law firms. Today, we're going to talk about the 5 budget allocation strategies that family law firms need to use in order to thrive. James, our first is start with the highest intent keywords. Talk to us a little bit about this.
Yeah, so when we really think about budget allocation across any paid media channel or mix that you guys have active, I mean, really what we're trying to hit on with this first rule is prioritize what drives the most revenue for your business, right? So from a paid search perspective, when we think about keywords, right, is if we're doing a good job building out campaigns, we're segmenting those based off of intent, what the user is actually looking for. So if you're doing that part well, you have multiple campaigns based off of different user search intent. What we're really saying with this first rule is let's maximize that highest intent one first. So some examples of that would be divorce attorney near me, hire custody lawyer, Milwaukee. So what you're really looking for there, right, is those near me geo type variations to the keyword, along with some form of buy variation. So what we think about with that is like hire, even some things like best, divorce lawyer, those types of things where it's very apparent that the user is like, I'm ready to make a decision. I need a divorce lawyer and I want the best one or the closest one to me, whatever the case may be. If you're targeting this group and again segmenting well within your account, you should be spending the majority of your budget here first, and then treating it almost like a waterfall from there is trickling budget down to lower intent keywords. Similarly, in other channels that you might have in your mix, we feel strongly that there is a lot of search volume in that highest intent category in paid search. We see a lot of success with law firms really targeting well in that space. But from there, depending on kind of where users are in their journey, things like social media and programmatic ads are definitely going to play a role in here as well as it relates to especially prospecting. Essentially trying to get ads in front of people that are maybe somewhere in the middle or close to that end in terms of their intent, and making sure then again that really based off of the data you're getting back and signals that you're seeing in the account, placing the budget where you're seeing the best results there.
Yes, I was going to caveat all this with the assumption that our listeners are in the weeds looking at the data, right? We're talking about prioritizing your dollars in the right way. We have to know where that data is coming from and how you're leveraging it to make the right decisions.
Yeah, just to create an opportunity for visualizing this, we typically break our keywords down into a couple different buckets, and then add since AI's come around, we also look at, is there an AI overview or not? So what we're really looking for is, in this first section, is like very high purchase intent keywords that don't have an AI overview, because that's going to generate the most quality traffic for you. Then you're going to look at more commercial oriented terms that they have commercial intent, but they're not ready to buy. And then all the way up at the top would be your research oriented terms. And those are very much research oriented. They're not going to convert, but they're great top of funnel, especially for your petitioners that are in the process of researching for, 2+ years sometimes, in terms of what they're going to do to move forward with a divorce action. So obviously the things towards the bottom of the funnel, the purchase keywords, they're going to generate revenue for you. They're the lowest hanging fruit, and that's where we want to spend our dollars first.
Yeah, well said. All right, James, moving on to number two, align budget with service profitability, which also seems intuitive, right? You want to spend your money where you're making money.
Yeah, you would think so. Where we do see a lot of this stuff overlaps, right? We've had a revenue roadmap in the past about campaign segmentation when we're looking at like how a good account strategy looks like. Really great segue from what Tony was talking about in his last message there. What we do see sometimes is when campaigns aren't segmented correctly here to break out things like service specific keywords by intent, like we're talking about here. They'll pool those numbers together and allow the account to, essentially spend where the search volume is, where Google Ads thinks it's going to drive the conversion that's set up in the campaign. And what can happen is ultimately a service line that you do offer that is not your primary service line, your most profitable one that you even really want to focus on, ends up taking a lot of your budget away from, specific terms like divorce lawyer and things like that. And instead you're getting stuff for guardianship or whatever the case may be for your law firm, where it's like, yeah, we might want to get some visibility here, but we certainly don't want to be spending even close the majority of our budget on those searches. So just making sure that, again, in having a really good campaign segment strategy so that you have all of your campaigns split up by, what service lines you have and then by intent will help you make sure that you don't goof up in this space. Because I think it just, there's a lot of overlap there, is like where the issue is like, I don't think any, law firm owner goes and, working with their agency or doing the ads themselves and go, you know, yeah, I'm totally fine with us spending, a bunch of money on things that aren't our biggest focus for our law firm, but it happens in a kind of sneaky way if you're not paying attention. So I think that's really the biggest message with number two is make sure your account's set up for success that way, because then you actually can do this. Then it's like, well, I want to spend X amount of percent on child custody searches. I want to spend X amount on divorce. Like you can be a lot more strategic and have more control that way.
Yeah, if you're listening, James, and it's been a while since you've taken a look at your account or done some of these kind of maintenance hygiene activities, use this as the motivation to go do so. Because, like you said, over time, waste creeps in, plaque builds up. And the more you can maintain a healthy account, the more profitable your account will be.
Yeah, I mean the unpleasant truth for people in the advertising space is it's so much easier to run an account that is set up poorly, because there's less buttons to push and there's less things to move around when you have a really highly segmented account that's built out with lots of search intent and service line intention. It's harder to manage, but the results are better. And like typically where law firms they fall prey to not really understanding this and then being sold, $1,000 per month or lower. I'll manage your paid search account, and all they're going to do is turn on PMAX and run some general crap at it, and it's not going to work. And then you'll be like, paid search doesn't work. We hear this all the time. It's like, yeah, it doesn't work when you set it up like a buffoon. So let's set it up better, like a professional would. So you get the results you should get.
Well said. You get what you pay for here.
What you pay for, exactly.
Yes. All right, James. Number three: don't over invest in brand terms. I know we see this a lot, right? Oh, well, people are just going to search for me by name.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't want to get lost. I mean, investing in brand terms is definitely effective. It's something that we recommend with the majority of our clients. It's good to have visibility there. The biggest thing when clients are thinking about it's like, well, they already know who I am. I'm going to obviously win in the organic search results. The advantage you still have in going after brand terms is you're going to get rank advantage, right? So if you have competitors bidding on your name, you're automatically going to get that first buy. You're going to have a low CPC. So as a result, low cost per lead. So it's going to be really efficient that way. You can also control the messaging, right? So like in the SEO game, right? Google takes some liberties on what it's showing in the search results from, the metadata you put in there and stuff. Sometimes the messaging that maybe you prefer to say isn't the one that you're seeing in your search results. With ads, you have full control of that. So there's a little bit more control there. But to kind of get to the point here is like, there is a balance here, right? Because at the end of the day, yes, they do know your brand. You do want to control, you do want to bump out your competitors, but striking the right balance of how much you're investing here can be something you really want to think about. Generally speaking, from a percentage standpoint, somewhere between 2 to 10% of your overall paid search budget is probably a good mark. Obviously, looking at important KPIs like impression share, impression loss to rank, things like that, budget will help indicate if maybe you do have a little bit more runway to get in there. Are you seeing a lot of competitors showing up for your branded searches? Those would be all obviously more nuanced reasons why maybe you'd be a little bit more invested there. But ultimately, right, like what we were talking about in rule number one, like at the end of the day, net new leads that you want to get after that have this really high intent. If you're spending too much in brand, you might be then not spending enough in your most important service line keywords that are categorized by intent and stuff like that. So you want to be mindful to how much you're spending there.
Hey, family law firm leaders, my partner, Tony Carls, just released his book where he lays bare our precise blueprint for growing Sterling lawyers from 0 to 17 million. This is the blueprint that we still use daily. And Tony explains it in very simple terms. The truth is, this is not simple to do. Success requires and demands hard work, but if you have the patience and the work ethic to do it, your family law firm will succeed.
Number 4, expand budget only after maximizing priority areas. So this is 80-20 rule here?
Yeah, to some degree, I would say that the biggest thing here, it goes back to a lot of times receiving accounts that were working previously with agencies, or maybe you're the business owner, you're doing everything, so you created the account, weren't really sure how to set it up well. A lot of times, what we see in there is basically this hodgepodge of many campaigns with many ranges of different intent put into the account, and then minimal budget in these different pockets, right? So now you're spending just a little bit on all of these different groups of campaigns that may not be even the ones you really want to prioritize. So what we're really saying with this is in an ideal state, right? So you've got your campaign segmented by service line and by priority intent and things like that. When you get to the point of really maximizing your impression share there, the results you're getting right, so really looking at your cost per lead, how many conversions are you driving from that? There's different tools you can use to kind of understand like what's my potential maximum reach based off of these keywords. You can look in the keyword planner tool, things like that. That should be your indication to be like, okay, now I can move into some of that more middle of the funnel type search intent, or even low intent, depending on where you're at. So really the message with number 4 is like in terms of priority, as you're looking to expand your account, expand, where you're getting ads to show within the search results in the ad space, or even in other platforms, make sure you really focus on maximizing those highest intent spaces first and then move on. Because if you're putting all of it in there, what's going to happen is that lower intent stuff, there's a lot more search volume there. So Google will actually end up spending a ton of money on a keyword like, just lawyer, right? Instead of a keyword like divorce attorney, Miami, Florida, which is going to be a massively different conversion rate that you can expect from that keyword. And ultimately, probably a massively different type of lead who hits your books, right? So one that actually ends up more likely being a retainer being sent and signed versus, maybe I'll talk to you guys again in a couple of months.
I'd say too, this is really a combination of the point 1 and point 2 from earlier, as well as so within the intention of the keywords, but also across platforms. So like a lot of times we'll see like we're only on Google ads and we're not doing any lead gen opportunities on socials, which are very available, or everything's clumped together in Google ads and not broken out by priority. So like a real practical example is your top performing keywords from a intention perspective are going to be in the divorce lawyer plus a variant brand. Your second best ones are going to be family lawyer. And the reason that's second, and it's probably got a little higher search volume, is the disparity of what's in there. You're going to get a lot more post judgments, a lot more child support actions, as well as divorce actions in there. So you're going to get a different array that's going to have a different value set. And then after that, you're going to have more post judgment and lower value case types that you can go after. So it's making sure you're segmenting and going down the funnel on all that purchase opportunity before you go up into higher commercial intent or up into the research buckets is really important. So.
Okay, bringing this all together, our fifth point is make data-driven budget decisions, right? Like we talked about earlier, this is not a gut feel. This is a science. This is based on the numbers. What is working, what is not working, right, James?
Yeah, absolutely. I think especially on the search front, I think generally speaking, aside from people that really work in this field and are experts at paid search, a lot of people don't realize how much volatility there is in the auction space, right? So competitors are ramping up budget at different times constantly. They're pulling out, they're coming in. New competitors that were never there are coming in. Old ones that had a previously small budget now are ramping up because they got a new agency, right? This is all going to impact your performance one way or the other, right? So, how much budget does it take to ultimately make sure you're showing in the top 3 results when they're showing ads? Now you have different messaging that's in there that's different from today that now you have to compete against. Maybe they have a better offer that they're showing in their messaging. So there's a lot of these variables that you have to be mindful of as it relates to setting your budget. Because if you just set it and you're not really looking at it, what's probably happening is all of these things are going on in the background, and you're just going to eventually feel some type of performance dip, or maybe hopefully you're lucky and you see some nice ramp up, and you go, oh wow, that was weird, and then eventually things go back to level set. If you're not paying attention to it, you're not going to really understand what's going on in there. The same thing can be said, right, for social media and other ad platforms, right? It's all auction based. So there's just a ton of volatility, right? There's people coming in and out constantly, pushing up CPM bids to getting your ad out there. So if you're not being cognizant of the fact that like the budget you set today could be very, very different 2 weeks from now, a month from now, next quarter, all these different time frames, you're probably missing out on opportunities. So just having a good pulse there of what you're seeing can be really effective. Um, Outside of budget specifically there, obviously too, as you're like making decisions of should I maybe go into social media, or should I spend a little bit more on brand, right? Like the real message here with number 5 is in addition to just keeping a good pulse on how your budget is being utilized for your different platforms, it's like, where am I placing it within my mix? Is there some changes to what's going on with my brand campaign which may indicate that I should be spending more there? Or maybe the opposite. Maybe it's like, oh, we can get away with a $10 a day budget here and get good results, or we have no competitors in the auction with us. Well, let's bump in that other $60 we had per day for that brand campaign and put it towards our buy core campaign with heavy purchase intent that's now losing out on impressions. So I think that's really the biggest message with this one is being mindful to that volatility, and then making those decisions of how are we going to push through whatever we're seeing based off of data and performance metrics.
James, what do you feel like the right? Because I think you're spot on. Like, what's the minimum you feel like is the right time frame? Because a budget you set today is based on, might be perfect for today, but tomorrow it's only 99% correct. Like, what would you say is like the right time frame to readjust and review what you have set up so that you're maximally effective?
Yes, I would say it's going to obviously be very contingent with your level of spend in the account. So I just want to say that. So if you've got, you only spend $500 per month on paid search, it's going to be different. I would say on average with our clients, I would say minimum weekly, just to get a pulse check, making sure you're seeing what you expect from that budget spend, right? Especially in, situations where maybe you've increased in a recent time period. Checking back in is critical right here to really understand with what kind of impact you're going to get from it. But as it relates to maybe like, we've kind of had the same budget and we just want to, do kind of a maintenance check, I would say weekly is like a minimum there. As you scale up your investment in these paid media platforms, bi-weekly becomes more in play for sure. Even daily, if you can do a quick check, there's a lot of alerts you can set up and stuff like that to get a good pulse on things. But I would say probably for the average account, weekly is a good starting point, just to kind of see like, hey, if we set this budget for this, what are we expecting to get out of it, and what's changing week over week, and how may that impact our decision to either change our budget up or down.
Yeah, I know that we have like budget trending and monitoring sheets that we do for all of our clients to keep tabs on all of this stuff, and it kind of helps us see like, are we are we going to spend our budget or are we not? Are we going to go over budget based on what's in the marketplace or not? And there's like you said, there's a lot of variability, and paying attention to it's really important.
Could not agree more. This is not a set it and forget it activity. Whether you're spending $5 a day or $1,000 a day, there are opportunities to find efficiencies and better perform in the paid advertising game. That's why we're here. Gents, appreciate your time.